Alright, I think you guys like it when I cover a specific house in the top 20 list. Well, today I'm talking about a French house, French niche house, one of the very first, if not the very first French niche house called L'Artisan Parfumé. Today I'm ranking 21 of my favorite L'Artisan Parfumé fragrances in this video. So if you want to find out about this house and the fragrances and learn about them and see how I rank the fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about L'Artisan Parfumé, a fragrance house that I first discovered in the 2000s. I know it's been around since the 70s, started by Jean Laporte, dating back 40 years ago, approximately. But I discovered them in the 2000s and I've come to love their fragrances. I love them because they have these unique fragrances. They're not necessarily like fragrances that are like overwhelming, but they cover different grounds, they cover different territories, they cover different notes and so on. So if you want the specific style, you basically go to this house and you learn about their fragrances and see what styles they have and just different specific notes. So I like that about it. But I don't speak a lot about the house, and I want to start, and there are some fragrances that are amazing in this house and I'm going to tell you what they are. But before we do that, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So before we move on, I also want to say that there is a new fragrance, just one new fragrance that's been recently launched that I'm also going to talk to you about today, and I've actually ranked it in the list, and it is, I'm not going to tell you much about it, but you'll see when it comes up and I'll tell you. And I want to also find out if you guys would be interested in a full review of it as well. But before we get to that particular fragrance, we're going to start off at number 21. This one's called BOIS Farine, this one right here. Very, very unique fragrance. It's very powdery and very woody with lots of powdery notes. So it's just, if you like powder in a powder form, this is a fragrance for you. But it's very unique in a way that it's very woody and it's very dense. Like it's almost like chokingly intense. It's ranked at the bottom because I find it to be not as good as the others. That's just my opinion. You might find this one to be very unique and you love it. But for me, out of all the ones that I have, not the discontinued fragrances, because I do have a few discontinued L'Artisan Parfumé fragrances as well, but I ended up putting this at the bottom because it's just not calling me. It's not my favorite. But what we have for notes again is powdery notes, sandalwood, iris. So iris and powdery notes together, it's a powder bomb. Benzoin, woody notes, Guaiac wood, musk. Very, very intense powder. Like it's just like a big powder bomb. Come alive. The other thing is there is a little nuttiness in there. There's something that in here that creates this like nutty aspect to it. It's almost like powder nuts, if that makes sense. It's a very, very unique fragrance. I don't know if I would call it a polarizing fragrance, but it is just not one of my favorite fragrances. But when I'm in the mood for powder and something really intense, this is what I would pull for. So this is BOIS Farine from L'Artisan Parfumé at number 21. So now we get to number 20, and this is going to be a shock to everyone. Shock! Okay, this is, I have both versions of it. It's Premier Figuier and Premier Figuier Extreme. Why is it at number 20? Why? Well, first of all, this is probably the premier fig fragrance. In fact, I have a video of this compared to Diptyque's Philosophus, and they were both launched around the same time. I believe this one was launched 1 year before Diptyque's Philosophus. They were both created by the same perfumer, Olivia Jacobetti. So this fragrance has been around since the beginning of this particular house, L'Artisan Parfumé. Almost. And it is all about figs, and I love the smell of figs, but something about both this fragrance and Diptyque's Philosophus doesn't do it for me as far as a fig smell goes, and I think it's what the coconut is in here that does it to me. I feel like even though people tend to love this and also the Philosophus, that coconut just kind of throws me off. I feel like, why is there coconut in here? Anyway, that's just me. But if you like the idea, you would definitely like this one. I kind of prefer this one a little more than the Philosophus of Diptyque. But this one has fig leaf, fig fruit, coconut, sandalwood, almonds, some dried fruits. There is a little bit of a citrusy note in there. And according to the notes, there's also some caramel. I feel like, you know, it's not a bad scent. I don't hate it. It's just that I feel like everything else that I'm going to tell you about after this particular fragrance is going to be better for me, and it's just a matter of taste. You might like this one a lot, and you might not. If you're curious, go check out my comparison of this fragrance with Diptyque Philosophus. In fact, we've compared both the original Premier Figuier and Premier Figuier Extreme with Diptyque's Philosophus and Philosophus EDP. Anyway, this is at number 20. I'm sorry to disappoint some people, but that's just the way it is. This is a ranking video, and I have to put one at a certain spot. All right, this next one is called VIOLACEUM, and it's from the this is from the Botanique collection of fragrances from L'Artisan Parfumé. And this one, again, once again, it's powdery. It's really powdery, and there's lots of violet in here. There's carrot seed. There is a bit of a vegetal quality to it. Lots of iris, more powdery, and saffron. So in the end, I preferred this one over BOIS Farine because, you know, I just like this as a smell more. And I think the reason is BOIS Farine is so intense, it's almost like choking. And the fact that it's powder, it's very, very powdery, it almost like chokes. But some people like that kind of thing. This one actually is not as intense and in-your-face powder as BOIS Farine is. So this one's definitely really much more wearable for me and tolerable. And I like the way it smells a lot more than the way BOIS Farine smells. But in the end, it's still very powdery, lots of powder here. And it's violets. And violets are very, very interesting as a smell. I like the smell of violets. I've grew up eating violet candy and then also drinking some violet tea as well. So it's very unique, and the way it smells here is really wonderful, the way it is. And the carrot seeds adds a, you know, like the vegetal-y kind of quality to it. And I feel like carrot seeds and iris are also very similar in smells. So it's a unique combination of notes and just wonderful. Now this collection, the Botanique collection, sadly are no longer in this kind of bottle. But this bottle is gorgeous. It's probably a collector's item anyway. But they're very kind of botanical fragrances that are created for L'Artisan. Check it out. This is VIOLACEUM from L'Artisan Parfumé. This next one is called MONT de Narcisse, and this is from the Les Paysages collection of fragrances, and I have every single one of them in this list, and this is my least favorite of them all, and I think it's just because I'm not understanding Narcisse as a note yet 100%. And again, I recently mentioned to you guys that I want to explore this note further, and Narcisse is a unique note for me that I haven't really explored much. So that's probably why this one's ranking much lower than the other fragrances that are going to come ahead it. But what's going on with this one is lots of leather, and it's a leathery Narcisse note. There's birchwood. There's that birchwood again, guys. Birchwood, leather, all go hand in hand. Narcissus, Immortelle, plums, black pepper, cardamom, and vanilla. You know, this is going to grow on me. I know I'm going to put it to test and explore it and really put it into use and then kind of like explore this note Narcissus, as I'm very, very curious about it. Anyway, this is from the collection Les Paysages, and all of these fragrances are going to a specific territory in the country of France, because it's a French brand after all, and this goes into a specific area, and it kind of basically is inspired by that particular area. And right now I'm drawing a blank with the area. The rest of the fragrances in this collection are named after an area. This one is not, but this is Mont de Narcisse at number 18. Going to another Les Paysages fragrance, and this is Le Chant de Camargue, and this is from an area called Camargue, which I've traveled to. And this is a very, very unique fragrance in that it's salty and it's powdery. Once again, we got powder. So you got lots of rice in here. There's a ricey kind of like rice can be very powdery. In fact, if you wash rice, you can see the powder kind of like floating. So this one has rice, sandalwood, Paradisone, Bergamot, and Hedione. Paradisone is a synthetic molecule that has a very floral quality. This is created by Alberto Morillas, and I feel like he's really using a lot of synthetic molecules in his fragrances. Hedione is also very jasmine-like, so it's a very floral creation, but very powdery once again. And the rice and the sandalwood kind of go hand in hand. They give it a very milky kind of quality, almost like rice custard or rice what do you call it? I'm drawing a blank, but like a rice custardy type of a quality. But it's not sweet, it's more savory because there's a saltiness to it. I like it. I really like it, but I prefer some of the other fragrances a little more than this one. So that's Le Chant de Camargue. Once again, it's from the Les Paysages collection. All right, this next fragrance is the only one I have in the original bottle on this list. This is DZONGKHA, and this is a very, very unique fragrance. It's created by Bertrand Duchaffour, and he's got several fragrances here. It's almost like he's like an in-house perfumer for the L'Artisan, but you know, I like this and I don't love it. And sometimes I love it more than others. There's a very kind of a sour quality to the woods. And there's a lot of spices here. It's vetiver. Again, it's vetiver, and I love vetiver. But this one just has very sour quality to it. But in the end, it's up there at number 16, and I do enjoy it. So it's got spices, vetiver, incense, iris, papyrus, iris, papyrus, very rhymey there. Leather, cardamom, tea, cedar, peony, light lychee fruit. And you know, I feel like this one and another one that's on this list, Timbuktu, are related. They're kind of like distant relatives because in the end they focus on vetiver, and Timbuktu focuses on vetiver, but I like that because it has patchouli in it and some other notes, but it also has the papyrus, which this one has too. So that's why I feel like they're kind of related. But in the end, I prefer Timbuktu a lot more than DZONGKHA, but I don't hate this one. I really enjoy it, and once in a while I pull for it. It just has a very almost like an odd experience, rather than like, it's not a bad odd, it's just like, oh, okay, when I'm used to Timbuktu so much and when I smell this, it kind of reminds me of Timbuktu, then it doesn't, if that makes sense. But there are fans of this one, and it's a very, very unique creation, and Bertrand Duchaffour doesn't make bad fragrances anyway. So this is number 16, DZONGKHA, and it's the only one, as I said, in my old bottle. This next one is a fragrance called NUIT Tuberose, this one right here, and this is so lovely, guys. If you're fans of fragrances like Carnal Flower and things like that, you've got to check out NUIT Tuberose. And white flowers, I've embraced it a lot more as of late. In the last 2 years, I've been embracing not only white flowers, but also lots of aquatic fragrances. And this one actually does not disappoint. If you like a tuberose with some spicy touches of pink pepper cloves, there's some fruity touches of mango, there's some angelica in there as well. There's more floral touches of ylang ylang, but the rest of it seems like really dense notes of woody notes and resins. So in the end, it dries and, you know, kind of heavy, but starts very beautiful and floral, and it's a really, really wonderful floral fragrance, NUIT Tuberose. I like the fact that they've combined cloves and pink pepper with a, you know, very, very smelly floral note of tuberose. Tuberoses tend to be very, very smelly, like they smell strong, especially when they're, you know, growing in the heat, and you could, you know, the aroma just kind of like takes over, and I feel like it's a nice contrast of that very, very smelly tuberose note of tuberose, and then along with pink pepper and cloves. But everything else works wonderfully, and it does dry down to a beautiful woody, resinous kind of an experience. Anyway, this is NUIT Tuberose at number 15. This next one is one that I've reviewed. It's called Banana, and this one's here because in the end, bananas tend to kind of be an odd smell, but a good odd smell. And I don't have a lot of banana fragrances. I have a few, and this one's very unique, but this one utilizes banana flower, so it doesn't really fully go to a banana, but it does. But it's a very ambery experience, so there's lots of amber here. There's a banana flower, there's iris tonka, musk, jasmine, mace, violet leaves, black pepper, and this one I think was inspired by a recipe that they found of Jean Laporte, who is the guy who started the brand, and they kind of like took the recipe and came up with their current version or current creation, inspiration of that recipe. And if you like banana, if you like gourmands, and if you like amber fragrances, you might want to try this one. It's not a full-on gourmand, but then amber tends to kind of go in that direction anyway. So in the end, I feel like it's kind of bordering gourmand, but in the end, it's more of an amber with a banana twist. Anyway, this is Banana from L'Artisan Parfumé, and that's at number 14. Now going back to the collection of fragrances that are botaniques, this is Mirabilis. And this one I actually really love, and I love wearing, and it has a wonderful smell. And I like this one because it's mostly olibanum or incense or frankincense, and then you throw in some musk in there, and the musk is sexy. This is a very, very sexy, incensey, smoky, resinous fragrance. I think what really does it for me is that ambroxan note. There is ambroxan in here, and the combination of all these notes is really, really sexy. I think ambroxan in the end has a very sexy smell to it. Like I love it in another 13 from Le Labo in the Eccentric Molecules, Molecule 2, Juliet Has a Gun, Not a Perfume, and various others. And there's something about that once it gets on skin, it becomes very sexy. And even though this has really unique notes of incense, olibanum, and earthy notes, I forgot to mention it has earthy notes. So the whole combination is really sexy. I really love this one. I wish it was higher, but I prefer some a little more than this particular one, but it's really great. If you like ambroxan, you have to check this one out. This is Mirabilis from L'Artisan Parfumé. It's from the Botanique collection, and it's at number 13. All right, this next one at number 12 is Bucolique de Provence, and it's all about lavender. And this is once again from that Les Paysages collection of fragrances from L'Artisan, where they go into a different territory or area in France. Obviously, they're going to Provence here because the name says Bucolique de Provence. This one has iris, lavender, and leather. Leather trade was in the south of France in Grasse, and Grasse became the perfume capital. So I feel like it's a great, you know, inspiration for a fragrance. And the south of France is known for iris as well. I believe it is. There's a lot of iris coming from Tuscany in Italy, so maybe somehow it's kind of close. But it's a unique fragrance. It's not your typical lavender. It doesn't smell like a very lavendery experience, and it's very, I mean, it's very aromatic, but I feel like the lavender and iris kind of like compete with one another, and in the end you get the lavender, but it's a unique lavender, not necessarily like something like Tom Ford Lavender Extreme. It's definitely not a fougere. It's just a unique aromatic and herbal concoction, and the leather adds this more heft to the fragrance in the end, but it's wonderful. I really enjoy it. That's why it's up here at number 12. This is Bucolique de Provence from L'Artisan Parfumé. 11, going to a fragrance called Noir Exquis. This one right here, it's a gourmand. This one is very nutty and dry. It reminds me of gourmand fragrances you would wear in the fall, because there's like a dryness in here, like almost like a dried up shrubbery in the fall, where it gets really hot still, and there's a smell that comes from the shrubbery that sweetens up by the air, and that's kind of what it reminds me of. But it's all about chestnuts, maple sap, vanilla, coffee, ebony, tonka beans, sandalwood, heliotrope. In the end, it's not a very intense in-your-face gourmand, but I feel like once it hits the body with your chemistry, it sweetens up, because there is maple sap in the end, there's that chestnut, and there's the vanilla, of course, coffee, ebony, tonka beans. It is a unique creation. It's not my typical favorite gourmand. I feel like it's a diet gourmand. It's not like ultra sweet where it can be like tooth rotting, and this one is more like something, more like a subdued gourmand experience. In the end, it's not like a full-on gourmand, but then again it is. The coffee note is really wonderful here with the vanilla and the maple sap, and that chestnut has a slight nuttiness to it anyway. This is 11, this is Noir Exquis, and it's at number 11. So top 10, guys, we have this next one is one that I've just started to really fall in love with, and I featured it in an orange fragrances video recently, where I featured orange fragrances, mandarin oranges, clementines, and things like that. This is from that collection Les Paysages. Once again, this is Mandarina Corsica. Wow, this is such a great fragrance, guys. When I was very young, I used to do like, my mom used to give me like lozenges, but like more like hard candy. And there were these ones that were like shaped like little slices of mandarins. And the candy in that, it smelled so great when I, sucked on it and ate it. And that candy, the mandarin orange candy, is the smell in here is exactly the same. So it reminds me of that, and it kind of brings back memories of me like eating those, and I'd eat one and then I would eat another one and another one, but they were not just mandarin oranges, there was lemons and oranges and grapefruit and all of the different citruses, but the mandarin just really reminds me of that mandarin candy I remember eating. But this one is unique. It's inspired by Corsica. Again, it's the Les Paysages, where they're all inspired by different areas of France. It has caramel, so it's a gourmand, a citrus gourmand. Mandarin, bitter orange, vanilla, tonka bean, cinnamon, maltol, immortelle. This is so good, guys. This is really, really good. The tonka beans are pretty prominent for me, and the mandarin is, of course, really big. And the caramel has a very smooth, kind of a drippy kind of a experience, like a mixture of that with the mandarin. It just smells wonderful. It just really brings back to those days of eating those candies for some odd reason. I don't know why, and that's why I really have fallen in love with this one, because it does remind me of things, and those are the kind of best fragrances for me, for remembering smells and trying to figure out what they are. Sometimes I can't figure out what they are, but this one really does remind me of those like mandarin orange hard candies with all the different citruses. Anyway, Mandarina Corsica at number 10. It's really delicious. If you like gourmands, you should check it out. So this next one is probably one of the most popular fragrances in the L'Artisan Parfumé collection, and I don't know if I think it's a pretty early on one. This is Mûr at Musk, and I have the EDT version here. And Mûr, I believe Mûrs are blackberries or black currants. I think they're blackberries. Yeah, it's a blackberry. And Mûr at Musk means blackberry musk, I believe, or musk blackberry. But it's all about musk, blackberry, sage, red berries, oak moss, lemon, mandarin oranges, and oranges. Wow. This is probably a classic. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean it smells old. I feel like it's a classic because it's been around for so long, and it just kind of like stood the test of time. Just like Parfumeur Perfumes, which has stood the test of time, this one has also. And if you like fruity fragrances, if you like aromatic fragrances, if you like musky fragrances, and it's a clean musk, because this one actually, when I wear it, that sage note actually kind of like combined with the musk and the blackberry makes a soapy kind of a dry down, which I really love. It's clean, so I feel like this one you can get away with wearing in the summertime. It's fruity, it's green and aromatic, and then it's musky. I've never tried the EDP version. I'm sure it's much better than the EDT, but I love the EDT and I love the fruitiness of it and the aromatic qualities. Anyway, this is Mûr at Musk at number 9. I feel like that's a very classic L'Artisan fragrance, and probably one of the more popular ones from this house. This next one is a very unique fragrance for me. This is Passage d'Enfer at number 8. If you are an incense lover and if you like white flowers, this is your little magic potion right here. What I like about this one is the lily with the incense. It's a match made in heaven, and this is created by the woman that made Olivia Jacobetti. I was going to say the woman that made Premier Figuier, but this is definitely her signature. Really, really her signature style of fragrances. The lily has a sweetness and white floralcy to it, but the incense balances it out. It's like almost like, are you going to get really white flowers, or are you going to get white, like really incense here? So in the end, you get the best of both worlds pretty much, and the sweetness is kind of like toned down of the lilies, and smokiness has been added because of the incense. But in the end, you also have musk here and some woody notes. It's to die for. It's wonderful, and I'm glad I've discovered this one now, because I love incense and fragrances, and I also, as I said, have been really getting into white flowers, and I love the lilies. Lilies were really big when I was growing up for Easter. They were like the flowers to have around, and I love the way lilies smell, and they are definitely present here along with that incense. Anyway, Passage d'Enfer is at number 8. Freshy favorite from this house. This is Sur l'Herbe. As you can see, I've used up plenty of it. Sur l'Herbe is a wonderful summertime freshie. It's an eau de cologne. Everything else has been either EDP or EDT. Here we have an eau de cologne. That's why it's lighter, it's fresher to wear. And what I like about this one, it's a very green neroli and eau de cologne style fragrance. You've got lots of neroli, you've got green notes, you've got bergamot, musk, lemon, and amberwood. So the lemons are prominent, the bergamot is prominent, the neroli is prominent. It's so good, guys. It's very clean, soapy, musky. It's delicious. In the summertime, you wear this one. You wear a lot of it, and it just kind of like really like satisfies your. I mean, cools you off is what I was going to say. It's like thirst quenching. Like you get really thirsty because it's really hot outside, and you spray this stuff on, and it just really like psychologically cools you off. And that's the kind of fragrance I like when it's really hot and humid outside. Anyway, this is number 7, Sur l'Herbe from L'Artisan Parfumé. We've got 6 more to go. All right. Well, this next one is a controversial one. I have to have one of those on the list. This is Al Oud. Yes, I love this one, guys. Really, really love it. It's animalic, it's musky, it's oudi. You've got oud, you've got caraway seed. Now, caraway and cumin are very similar notes. Cumin tends to be more pungent and really, really smelling of, people say this smells like BO. Caraway is a lighter version of that. I feel like it's not necessarily as pungent as cumin can be, but in the end, this one is a very musky and animalic fragrance. You've got oud, caraway, civet, dates, leather, incense, dried fruits, saffron, myrrh, cardamom, rose, and I feel like they've put together the Middle Eastern spice market into a bottle. I love this. It's so good. It's musky, it's animalic, it's oody woody, but also very aromatic. We've got like spicy notes of aromatic, spicy notes of saffron, resinous touches, and there's a rose in the background that's really, really delicious. This is so good. Al Oud is amazing. It's another one that's created by Bertrand Duchaffour. That guy is a genius. He's probably one of my favorite perfumers next to Dominique Ropillon. This next one is a major surprise. I'm so surprised this is here, especially since it features the note of cologne, and I cannot stand this note. Cologne smells like fish to me, but here it's magical. This is the last and final Les Paysages fragrance, and this is Un Air de Bretagne. This is a great fragrance. It's inspired by the air of Brittany, and I spent a whole winter, not a whole winter, like 2 weeks of winter on one of my travels in Brittany a couple years, a year and a half ago. And I know that the smell, but this smell is more of a summertime smell to me. It's the sea air of Brittany, and they use a major dose of cologne, and I can't stand it, as I said, but it's so good here. Cologne, bergamot, seaweed. You got cologne and seaweed. Like, what's going on with my nose? This one is so good. Citruses, cypress, cedar, ambergris, neroli. This is to die for. If you like citruses, lots of citruses, like lemony citruses with the sea air, with cologne and seaweed, this is it for you guys. This smells phenomenal. I just don't get it, but I love the combo. I think whatever citruses they have in here tones down the cologne and the seaweed and gives me this very, very refreshing, sea breezy kind of smell in the summertime with lots of citruses. Now here in San Francisco, we do get those breezes, and there are some sea breezes that I experience, of course, because we're close to the water. And I feel like if I was in Brittany, it would be somewhat similar. But then again, this one has all those citruses, which makes it very, very fresh and refreshing. It's awesome. Un Air de Bretagne, and that's why it's at number 5. Number 4, guys, Feu d'Absinthe. Yes, I do love my absinthe. I do love licorice. I do love ouzo. I do love my Iraqi, or whatever you want to call it, pastis, all of that stuff. I love that smell. And here it's perfection. That's why it's at number 4, because I just love it. But here you have wormwood, which is what they make absinthe with, but you also have pine needles and balsam fir. So you have these like woody green herbaceous kind of like coniferous smells with wormwood, then throw in some star anise, which is also more licoricey, then throw in some smoky notes and then some spicy notes, and you've got a winner here. I believe this is also created by Olivia Jacobetti, and she's another perfumer that's amazing, and it seems like it's either Bertrand Duchaffour or what's her name, Olivia Jacobetti. But this one, I love wearing it. It's not one of the most intense fragrances, so I feel like this is perfect more for warmer days. So warmer spring days, summer days, and then of course warmer fall days. I feel like be perfect for it. And because of some heat out there, the fragrance would be a little more bigger living experience, or more of a heavier wearing experience, because the heat of your body is going to make everything come alive. I feel like it's not as good in the colder days, which I wouldn't pull for this anyway. But in the end, it's a very, very green, woody, aromatic, spicy experience. It's phenomenal, actually. And as I said, I love the smell of this absinthe note, or anything that smells like it, like ouzo, liqueurs, any like pastis, and it's wonderfully captured here in this fragrance. So this is Feu d'Absinthe at number 4. So we've got 3 more to go. Where's that new fragrance? I haven't even talked about it yet, and can you believe it's that good? Because it's way up here, and it's not number 3 either. Number 3 is Timbuktu, and this is a one that I reviewed very, very early on for Saffron Bomb when I first started doing reviews for the blog, and I immediately fell in love with it. In the end, this is all about vetiver. You've got incense, you've got papyrus. I love that papyrus smell. There is a little bit of a fruity touch with mango. There's some myrrh note, with a resinous myrrh note. Lots of patchouli. I love the patchouli. There's benzoin, there's cardamom, some pink pepper. It's a winner. And again, as I was saying, I feel like these are distant relatives, DZONGKHA and Timbuktu, because they both focus on not incense. They do both have incense, but I think their main focus is vetiver. But they go in different directions, so I feel like they're distant relatives. But Timbuktu is amazing. I love it. It's just the wearing experience is great. It's not a beefy fragrance, like really dense, but it also is great legs. It lasts a long time, but it's closer to the skin, and the wearing experience is great because of that. And the combination of those notes, the patchouli, the vetiver, the papyrus, is phenomenal. Anyway, Timbuktu is awesome. If you don't know it, check it out. It is quite phenomenal. Alright, that number 2 fragrance is the new fragrance that L'Artisan launched, and it has made it up to number 2 because I love the way it smells. This is Color Vanille, and it's vanilla. I love vanilla, but this is not your traditional vanilla. This is a very, very salty vanilla. Hey, that note is becoming very, very popular. Salt is so popular lately, and this one uses it wonderfully. It's so good, guys. Sea salt, vanilla, tolu balsam, musk, vanilla orchid, benzoin, bergamot, immortelle. It's almost like you're having like a vanillic dessert at the sea, or by the sea, where you can smell the sea breeze and salty air. But it's more than that. There's ambery touches, there's lots of sparkly effervescence running throughout it, resinous and balsamic touches. It's phenomenal. It does remind me a little bit of Juliet Has a Gun's vanilla vibes, but they're different. I feel like this one has more density to it, and it goes into more of an ambery and balsamic territory, versus that one is more beachy. But in the end, I did say having a vanillic dessert next to the sea, but it's much more denser here. But there's this effervescent quality that I really like, almost like when I'm wearing it, there's some sparkles and crackling happening on me, and that's what I like about it. And I love vanilla to begin with, and now I'm experiencing the salty vanilla experience that's really, really awesome. Anyway, this is awesome, and as I was saying at the beginning of the video, if you'd like me to review this one, let me know. I'll do a full review of it if you like, because I'm really enjoying it. That's why it's at number 2. Anyway, that's at number 2. It's Color Vanille. Can you guess the number 1 fragrance? I've spoken about it on the channel. In fact, I've spoken about it on the old channel. This fragrance, when I was running the old channel from 2012 to 2015, the fragrance had gotten discontinued when I first started it. Then I had found bottles of it in Paris, in the old bottles, and there were 50 ml bottles, and I brought 2 back with me. And then later I was, doing videos about this fragrance. Are you guessing which it is? You probably will or not. But then L'Artisan re-released the fragrance. And then I was like, wow, now it's back only as 100 ml. Great. It's a great fragrance. I love it. And the fragrance I'm talking about is Tea42. Why is this at number 1? Well, it's everything that I want in a fragrance. I love tea. I love to drink it. I feel like I experience it here. You got tobacco. You've got honey. And then you've got lots of different spices, ginger, yuzu, various spices, cinnamon, cloves, all of that come into mind, or come into play here. And it's just a very, very fizzy experience. The ginger almost has a very, actually it's the ginger and the tea together, almost has a very ginger ale kind of a quality to it that I really, really like. Again, it's sparkles again, but this is more effervescence rather than sparkles that are jumping off of me. But this is more like a, when you pour a glass of Coca-Cola or ginger ale and you could see those effervescent sparkles, that's what it is like. But it's so good. There's lots of yummy qualities here. It is tobacco though. If you like gourmands and you don't like tobacco, you might not like this because it's there. But wow, it's absolutely amazing. And this one once again is created by Olivia Jacobetti. She's, I guess most of these are either Bertrand Duchaffour or Olivia Jacobetti. Anyway guys, Tea for Two is my #1 favorite from this house. I absolutely love this fragrance. It smells great. If you like tea, tobacco, gingerbread, ginger spices and all that good stuff, this is your fragrance. Anyway, those are my favorite fragrances from L'Artisan Parfumé. Let me know if you know this house. Let me know if you like this house. Let me know if you know the fragrances I've spoken about today. And let me know what I've missed. I know I don't have everything from this house, obviously. I can't I can't like include fragrances that I do not own. But in the end, these are a lot of fragrances that I really enjoy. And again, I had to rank this list. My favorite obviously is #1 and my least favorite is at number 21. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Put some comments down so I can find out if you enjoy this house, what are your favorite fragrances from this house, and which fragrances I should check out from this house, because there are a lot more obviously. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today. I hope everyone's staying safe. Please do like this video, please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye.